Welcome to Reddit Echoes, where real-life stories from Reddit are told authentically, full of drama and sometimes make you laugh or get outraged. In today's video, you'll hear 14 different stories ranging from legendary challenges to the smooth handling by unsung heroes and intense dramatic arguments from everyday life. Buckle up, get ready, and join me as we explore stories that only happen on Reddit. Story 1. The Drunk Guy, challenging the bigger guy in the parking lot. I still vividly remember that night. I was standing in the underground parking lot outside a club, a place where every night unfolds interesting stories, and if you just stand quietly and observe, you'll catch quite a show. It was a weekend night. People were immersed in fun bass thumped into the streets, laughter and shouting mixed with the music, creating a lively yet chaotic atmosphere. Suddenly, from the far end of the lot, I heard a loud argument. A completely drunk guy was raging, shouting insults about the other guy's family and friends, and challenging a much bigger and sober man to fight immediately. What made me laugh was that while the drunk man was shouting, the bigger guy calmly pulled out a brand new pair of light boxing gloves from his pocket and said with total calmness, "Trust me, you'll want to fight on grass instead of this concrete." His friends tried to pull him away, warning that the drunk guy was dangerous and could get seriously hurt if a fight broke out. But the big man just smiled, took off his gloves, and said he was ready to fight and wasn't afraid at all. The drunk guy got even angrier, growling like an enraged beast. I stood nearby, excited yet anxious about what would happen next. Within seconds, the match began, and the ending left everyone watching utterly shocked. With just one punch, the big guy knocked the drunk man out cold on the spot. Remarkably, as the drunk man writhed on the ground, the big guy gently supported his head to avoid causing more pain. The scene didn't just satisfy the crowd's sense of justice, it also made everyone laugh at the calm and kindness shown by the tough-looking man. I kept watching the drunk guy lying there, occasionally blinking, seemingly clueless about how fast he was knocked out. People around joked he didn't hold back. One punch was enough to finish him. After the fight, the mood lightened. Everyone chatted excitedly about the fairness of the fight, admiring how the big guy handled the situation quickly and without excess force. I wondered whether the drunk guy remembered anything, or if all he had left was a blurry memory of the thunderous punch. Probably that night was a hard lesson for him not to talk big when you don't have the strength. And the takeaway: sometimes those who loudly challenge are the first to get knocked down. Conclusion: this was one of the most classic talk the talk but can't walk the walk moments I've ever witnessed firsthand. A drunk guy full of arrogant challenges only to be knocked out swiftly with a single punch. This story made me laugh, but also left me feeling satisfied, like justice had been served right there and then. If you have similar stories about those who talk big but can't back it up, feel free to share them with me. Story 2. The polite Brazilian knockout to a drunk challenger. I want to share with you one of the coolest yet powerful moments I've witnessed in real life. One night I was standing near a liquor store I often visit. The outside was fairly quiet, but you could still feel the vibrant energy from nearby bars. At that moment, a young Brazilian guy appeared. He looked clean, polite, and seemed to be a regular at the store. He stepped outside holding a six-pack of beer. Everything seemed normal until a drunk man staggered over looking aggressive and ready to cause trouble. The drunk guy started pushing and challenging the Brazilian. "Hey, wanna fight? I like punching polite guys like you." The Brazilian just smiled gently and politely said, "Sorry, I don't want to fight." But the drunk man wouldn't take no for an answer and kept pushing harder. He was clearly heavily intoxicated and out of control. The Brazilian remained calm, put down the beer, and unexpectedly landed one precise, powerful punch that instantly knocked the drunk man out cold. Everyone watching was stunned by how quick and effective that punch was. The drunk man lay sprawled on the ground, while the Brazilian picked up his beer, winked, and walked past the crowd with a confident smile. I still remember the stunned looks of the drunk guy's friends. They just stood there smiling clearly, admiring the Brazilian's calmness and strength. That moment made me wish I could stay as composed and confident under pressure or in awkward situations. Analysis and lesson. This story isn't just about a memorable knockout. It's a lesson in calmness and emotional control. The Brazilian didn't react with anger or immediate violence. He maintained politeness and used his strength only at the right moment to resolve the conflict. Not only did he win the confrontation, but he also earned huge respect for his character. Conclusion: sometimes confidence and calmness are the strongest weapons in tense situations. I will always remember that night when a polite, composed Brazilian taught a drunk guy a lesson about real power. No need for words, just act at the right moment. If you have similar stories or epic confrontations, share them so we can all laugh and learn together. Story 3, the drunk guy, threatening the bouncers, then knocked himself out. Have you ever witnessed a moment of someone knocking themselves out that made you laugh so hard your stomach hurt, yet you just couldn't believe your eyes? That's exactly what I saw one fateful night at a bar I often visit. I was standing in line to pay for my entry ticket when I noticed the scene right in front of me. Near the entrance, a drunk guy was being escorted out by 2 bouncers. This drunk was yelling loudly, threatening the 2 guards. "Once you get out, you better run. I'm gonna beat both of you up." His loud shouts caught everyone's attention. Everyone thought, all right, this guy's trying to stir up some serious drama. But what actually happened was way funnier and more ridiculous. At the entrance was a very sturdy double steel door with a solid metal bar dividing the 2 doors. In his rage, the drunk slammed his hands hard on both doors to try to open them. Suddenly, either from not paying attention or pure anger, he slammed his face right into the metal bar between the 2 doors. The impact was so strong that the drunk collapsed to the floor, knocked out cold on the spot. The whole scene played out like a live comedy skit, making everyone watching burst out laughing. The clang of his face hitting the metal echoed around the space. People around were surprised with a bit of sympathy, while the bouncers just shook their heads and quickly hauled the drunk out of the bar to avoid any further trouble. This story isn't just funny because of the drunk guy's self-inflicted knockout, but also highlights what people call talking big, but failing or challenging when not sober. Lesson learned. Don't challenge anyone when you're drunk. Sometimes you're the one who ends up hurting yourself, not your opponent. Most importantly, some moments become legendary in a bar's history that no one forgets. Conclusion. I still can't forget that scene. A loud-mouthed drunk threatening to beat up both bouncers, only to completely ruin his plan by knocking his own face into the door. Story 4. The drunk guy. Ran to the wrong door and knocked himself out. Have you ever witnessed someone self-punishing in a way even they couldn't believe? I have, and it was one of the most unforgettable moments I ever saw during a night working at a bar. At the time I was a server, my job was to deliver drinks and food to customers. But I never took my eyes off what was happening around me because bars are always hotspots for drama. That night, there was a drunk guy being escorted out by security. He wasn't cooperating and kept struggling and arguing. When they reached near the exit door, he suddenly broke free and ran at full speed, trying to escape their control. The funny part, the door he ran toward wasn't the main exit door, it was another door, opening inward into the bar. In other words, he ran toward the wrong door. Naturally, with his flying fast speed and a head full of booze, he couldn't stop in time. The result? He slammed his face hard right into the corner of that closed door, knocking himself out cold on the spot, collapsing on the floor. The whole scene played out like a cartoon comedy right before me and the crowd in the bar. The thud sound was sudden, followed by silence, then bursts of uncontrollable laughter. The security didn't need to do anything, they just dragged the unconscious drunk guy outside and let him sleep it off. Meanwhile, people kept laughing over what just happened, and the story quickly became the hot topic in the bar. Lesson learned. If you're drunk, be mindful when leaving a bar, especially pick the right door. Sometimes your own confusion is the reason you faceplant, not anyone else. And remember, Running fast doesn't always mean running the right way. Conclusion. I think this is the clearest proof of the saying, talk big but don't deliver. The drunk guy surely talked loud and threatened a lot, but in the end, he knocked himself out by running to the wrong door and smashing his face. Story 5. The drunk guy causing trouble with police instantly caught. One of the most unforgettable moments I witnessed was that night when I was driving and keeping the peace from my friends on a weekend outing. We stopped at a popular crowded bar on a Friday night, and luckily, I was completely sober. Outside the bar, a few police cars were parked right by the entrance, seemingly maintaining order. Nothing notable would have happened if not for a drunk young guy, probably under 18, who decided to play the hero in his drunken stupor. This drunk guy started yelling and insulting the police nearby, cursing, challenging, and even using heavy offensive language. Although the officers remained calm, trying to de-escalate the situation, the drunk guy refused to back down and kept provoking them intentionally. He even kept pacing back and forth in front of the officers, seemingly daring anyone to touch him. The police responded gently, asking him to go home and keep peace, but he stayed in crazy mode without stopping. After about 10 to 15 minutes, the drunk guy lost patience and pushed one of the officers. That was his biggest mistake. Immediately, the police reacted extremely fast, and professionally, the guy was caught pressed against the police car, handcuffed and stuffed into the vehicle. Everything happened so quickly that everyone watching was left open-mouthed in shock. The drunk guy was taken away right away, while his girlfriend, seemingly much more sober, started cooperating with the police to avoid trouble. This scene not only relieved everyone around, but also delivered a valuable lesson to those who think drunkenness is an excuse to act wild. That young man put himself into legal trouble just because of a moment of anger and loss of control. Lessons learned. Never think you can cause chaos with police right there. The calmness and professionalism of the officers always allow them to quickly control the situation. Most importantly, when drunk, remember to control yourself to avoid serious, unnecessary consequences. Conclusion. I think this is one of the clearest examples of talk big, but get caught fast that I've ever witnessed. The drunk guy challenged and insulted, but was caught and taken away in an instant. Story 6. The wheelchair man who took down his challenger. Sometimes in life, you learn never to underestimate anyone because true strength isn't always about appearances. I want to share a story I was fortunate to witness, one that made me rethink the power and resilience of the human spirit. It happened in a bar I often visit on weekends to unwind after stressful work days. That evening, I was sitting outside enjoying the atmosphere and sipping some drinks when suddenly a loud argument broke out. A young man was provoking a man in a wheelchair. I'm not sure how it started, but after a few heated words, the aggressive young man stepped forward, challenging the man in the wheelchair. What stunned everyone was the wheelchair man's reaction. Instead of fear or avoidance, he calmly lifted himself up, using his arms, an incredibly determined move that amazed everyone around. He approached the challenger, ignoring the hostile gestures. In a flash, he locked his opponent's neck with one arm, pulled him down to the floor, and started delivering fast, powerful punches. The whole bar fell silent watching the scene. No one dared to intervene, knowing it wasn't easy to mess with a person like that. After a few minutes of fighting, the aggressive young man lay on the floor, face battered and bleeding. The wheelchair man, like a warrior who just finished battle, slowly crawled back to his wheelchair, stood it upright, and calmly rolled away as if nothing had happened. That moment left me and many others in awe, not only because of physical strength, but because of the man's indomitable will and spirit. Meaningful lessons. Never judge others by their appearance. True strength comes from spirit and willpower, not just muscles. No matter how tough circumstances get, we can stand up and fight for ourselves. Conclusion. That night I realized strength doesn't always come from the biggest or strongest, but from those with the strongest will. The man in the wheelchair taught me a precious lesson about resilience and pushing beyond one's limits. Story 7. The Drunk Brother, who challenged a top kickboxing fighter. You know, sometimes alcohol doesn't just make people lose control, it creates moments so ridiculous you can't forget. I witnessed such a case with my brother, and I often tell friends about it for a good laugh and a valuable lesson. Here's what happened. My brother had a heavy night out, so drunk he couldn't speak clearly anymore. During that time, he accidentally crossed paths with someone he didn't know, a top 10 ranked kickboxing fighter in British Columbia, well known and respected in the martial arts world. In his drunken bravado, my brother got all heroic and challenged the guy. He loudly boasted, yelled, and even tried to shake hands to fight. What surprised everyone was that the kickboxing fighter, fully sober and able to knock my brother out instantly, handled the situation with responsibility and calm. He didn't rush to beat him up or cause chaos. Instead, he used a series of strikes targeting my brother's body to cool him down and avoid serious injury. The hits were precise and powerful, but not brutal. My brother, still drunk, felt the pain and quickly got knocked down. He lay on the ground, tired and a bit embarrassed. The kickboxer said nothing, quietly walked away, as if it was just another day. That moment made everyone watching, including me, laugh. Though it was a swift knockout, the fighter's calm, unshowy attitude made the scene both funny and interesting. Analysis. My brother talked big and challenged someone far beyond his ability. The kickboxer handled it wisely, neither overly aggressive nor dismissive, but enough to put my brother in his place. The lesson: know your limits and never underestimate your opponent. Conclusion. I still remember that night my drunk brother challenging a professional fighter without realizing he was stepping onto a hot stove. The result: a quick knockout and a lifelong lesson for him. Story 8. The Unexpected. Snowball fight with a backup football player. Sometimes the simplest moments become unforgettable memories, especially when you find yourself in an impromptu snowball fight with a professional athlete, reminding you just how formidable human strength can be. I recall a cold winter night, snow covering everything, as I was out walking with friends near a car exhibition venue. The scene was beautiful, snow blanketing the ground, fresh air, yet lively with the buzz of nearby events. As we wandered, we spotted a small crowd gathered around tossing snowballs. At first, I just watched for fun, but then one friendly-looking guy invited me to join in. What I didn't expect was that I'd be facing off against a backup player from the BC Lions, one of Canada's renowned football teams. He was tall, strong, and agile, with precise throws and impressive power. The snowball fight began with lots of laughs, but I quickly realized I was outmatched by his powerful and accurate throws, like those decisive passes on the football field. I could only dodge desperately or try weak throws in return. Not only was he strong, but he also aimed carefully at vulnerable spots, making me sprint around trying to avoid being hit. Eventually, I lost the match completely, but it didn't spoil the fun. He smiled genuinely, and afterward we sat down, shared some hot drinks, and chatted warmly. He told me about intense football matches, tough training sessions, and his passion for the sport. I shared stories of everyday life and how moments like this make life truly enjoyable. Takeaways. Even in a simple snowball fight, strength and skill matter. Professional athletes excel not just on the field, but also can surprise you in everyday challenges. Most importantly, maintain a joyful spirit, humor, and cherish each moment. Conclusion. That night was more than just a snowball fight. It was a wonderful experience that deepened my appreciation for the difference between an ordinary person and an athlete, and the value of teamwork and simple joy. Story 9. Students tease the rugby team. Get an unexpected comeback. Sometimes you might think teasing others just for fun is harmless, but reality often has other plans. I once witnessed a laughing versus crying moment that's still vivid in my memory. One weekend night, I was out with friends attending a costume party at a bar. The atmosphere was lively with everyone dressed up as eye-catching superheroes. While enjoying the night, I noticed a group of confident, witty students starting to tease the school's rugby team. That night, the rugby players were dressed in full-body, colorful spandex superhero costumes, really striking and easy to spot. Among the teasing group, there was a ringleader. Later, I found out his nickname was Hid Douche. He kept mocking and targeting a rugby player dressed as Robin wearing a bright green spandex suit. Robin tried to ignore them and stay calm, but Hid Douche deliberately approached and threw Robin's beer glass away. That act was like lighting a fuse. Immediately, Robin, undeterred by his tight green suit, retaliated. He took down 3 of the teasing students, including Hid Douche, in one swift move. The crowd around fell silent for a moment before erupting into applause and cheers. Imagine a guy in a green spandex suit thrashing the bullies. That contrast between his soft appearance and fierce actions was hilarious and unforgettable. Analysis. Teasing others can lead to unexpected consequences, especially when you mess with those who won't be pushed around. No matter how you look or dress, true strength lies in your attitude and ability. This story also highlights the spirit of sportsmanship and the surprise power people can show. Conclusion. I still remember that night when a confident group of students mocked the rugby team and got a swift lesson, turning them from the bullies into the ones getting teased. Story 10. The Strong Polynesian Handles. A drunk troublemaker in the diner one unforgettable night. I witnessed a quiet hero calmly handle a drunk troublemaker at a 24/7 diner. I was there with some friends at Waffle House, famous for great food and friendly atmosphere. The place was busy but still under control. Isaiah, a stocky Polynesian guy who looked like a walking fire hydrant, worked there as a cook and server. Suddenly, a drunken couple came in, causing a ruckus with profanity and loud behavior. The staff tried to calm things down, but the drunk guy got more aggressive. After some noise, the drunk man challenged Isaiah, seemingly wanting to pick a fight with the smaller but tough-looking guy. Isaiah calmly removed his apron, and jacket ignored all taunts and faced the drunk. What happened next amazed everyone. With a series of precise, strong, and decisive moves, Isaiah took down the drunk in seconds. The drunk collapsed, bleeding and unable to resist. The best part, Isaiah didn't even seem out of breath. He stood up, put his clothes back on, apron tied, and continued working as if nothing happened. Everyone watched in awe and applauded. Even the drunk guy seemed clueless about how he got knocked out. Analysis. Polynesians like Isaiah often have exceptional strength and endurance that many don't realize. Isaiah's calmness and precision made him the silent hero of the night. The drunk troublemaker is a perfect example of how uncontrolled drinking only harms yourself. Conclusion. That night taught me true strength isn't about appearance. It's about calmness, control, and accuracy in action. Story 11. The Native American takes down a rowdy skinhead group. Some nights working at the bar feel like watching a live-action movie full of drama and unexpected twists. That night, I was serving at a bar hosting a punk music night. The atmosphere was wild with loud guitars and a mix of regulars with all sorts of personalities. Suddenly, a group of skinheads, typical troublemakers who thrive on violence, entered and started harassing other patrons, disturbing the peace. A tall, cool-looking Native American man in the bar couldn't stand the chaos. He approached the skinheads and demanded they stop. One of them, wearing a bowler hat and white clothes like in Clockwork Orange, provoked him. He stood close, taunting and threatening with finger gestures and insults. Everyone watched nervously, not expecting the Native American man to react so fiercely. In a flash, he used his strength and skill to lock his opponent's neck and bring him down to the floor. He dominated the situation and silenced the skinheads who dared not act further. After the confrontation, he calmly stood up, picked up the bowler hat, and confidently placed it on his own head, a clear sign of victory. The whole bar applauded and cheered for his courage and decisiveness. Lessons learned. Never mess with someone who has strength and resilience. Calm restraint combined with timely action is the key to handling tough situations. Sometimes calm courage matters more than sheer physical power. Conclusion. I still vividly remember the Native American man wearing the bowler hat symbolizing victory and proving that true strength is about more than just muscles. Story 12. Drunken youngsters steal drinks. Get schooled by older man. I still remember the day I witnessed a masterclass in discipline that left a group of drunk young guys realizing what it means to face a true elder. One late afternoon at a NASCAR event I attended with my family, the atmosphere was lively with music and the smell of food mixing in the air. We were sitting around the camping area enjoying the bustling vibe. Suddenly, I noticed a group of young men, probably in their early 20s, quite drunk, started grabbing a bottle of liquor from their neighbor's table people who were at a different party not far from us. At first, no one paid much attention, thinking it was just some silly prank. But as the group became bolder, taking the bottle without permission, people started to notice and express disapproval. The older folks nearby quickly stood up and approached the young men. It seemed like these youngsters didn't understand their place facing people with much more life experience. One older man, despite having a knee injury and walking with a limp, fearlessly confronted them. He said, "You don't stand a chance against us. Try me if you want." The young men ignored the warning, even taunting him back, and tensions escalated. In a flash, the limping man delivered a powerful retaliation. With one precise punch, he knocked down the ringleader, who collapsed to the ground. The rest of the group either got knocked down or scared off, running away in panic. The atmosphere instantly quieted. Everyone exchanged looks of surprise and respect for the man who might have seemed small and worn, but was tough and savvy. Lessons learned. Never underestimate older, experienced people, even if they don't look strong. Experience and decisiveness often outweigh youth and recklessness. Most importantly, never provoke someone whose full capabilities you don't understand. Conclusion. That day I learned that in life, age and experience are priceless treasures you can't measure just by muscle strength alone. Story 13. A heated debate over music. Taste and accusations of racism. You know, sometimes what seems like a simple discussion about music taste can spiral into a fiery argument full of drama, forcing you to rethink sensitivities and perspectives. My story began when I was chatting with a girl I just met on a dating app. We talked about our music preferences, and she asked about the playlists I usually listen to. I answered that my playlist includes various genres, rock, pop, indie, but mostly songs performed by white artists. She immediately reacted strongly, "Oh no, your playlist is all white male artists. That's really narrow-minded and kind of racist." I didn't expect such a small topic to spark such a big conflict. I tried to explain that I listened to artists from different cultures and had no intention to discriminate or disrespect anyone. But she seemed unconvinced and continued to mock. "You may think you're not racist, but your playlist says it all. You don't care about cultural diversity, only your own ego." The conversation quickly became tense. I tried to stay calm and explain that music taste is personal and shouldn't be used to judge people. However, she fired back with attacks on my narrow-minded and old-fashioned thinking. Eventually, she flat out said she didn't want to continue talking, and I accepted. I recall reading a comment online that made me think a lot. Someone said, "Some people only like to hear what they're familiar with, and when challenged, they get defensive and overreact." Lessons learned: music taste is very personal and shouldn't be harshly judged or stereotyped. Communication and mutual understanding are key to avoiding unnecessary conflicts. Sometimes differences in opinion are normal, and you don't always need to convince the other person to change. Conclusion. This small debate about music taught me that in social life, respect and empathy always matter more than proving you're right. Story 14. A strange conversation with a tattoo enthusiast and a fierce opponent. Have you ever met someone whose seemingly normal conversations suddenly become strange and full of drama? I have, and it's an experience I'll never forget. It all started when I struck up a chat with a girl on a dating app. She was interesting, had unique hobbies, and I thought I found someone fun to talk with. One of the topics she brought up was tattoos. She proudly shared that she had 6 tattoos and planned to get many more. Honestly, I'm not a fan of tattoos. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just my personal preference. When I said this, things started to get complicated. She reacted strongly. I don't care what you think about tattoos. I like them, so I do them. If you don't like it, then just don't judge. I tried to explain that I was only sharing my personal opinion, not judging her. But she wasn't having it and kept getting upset. As the conversation went on, she became more intense. She accused me of being too serious and using religion to judge others, even though I never mentioned religion. She also said I don't know how to enjoy life and would never be liked by many people. I felt the conversation quickly hit a dead end. Every time I tried to be gentle, she fired back with harsh words and criticism. In the end, she went silent and disappeared as if she never existed. Analysis. Some people are so passionate about their interests that they cannot accept any opposing views. Disagreeing or having a different opinion shouldn't be misunderstood as judgment or offense. Communication in any relationship requires respect and mutual listening to avoid unnecessary conflicts. Conclusion. My conversation with this tattoo enthusiast taught me that differences can't always be reconciled, and sometimes the best thing to do is knowing when to stop. Thank you all for watching until the end of the video. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming Reddit Echoes videos. Got any funny, dramatic, or controversial stories you want to share? Leave a comment below so we can discuss together. See you in the next videos where real stories come alive and emotions run high.